same hat and sweatshirt as yesterday because this is my moving gear. Yes, I am moving to be closer to family and that kind of thing, but I made sure to carve out some time today to sneak away and give you guys that technical analysis that we're going to get into on the SPY, Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia. We're going to go over all of those things and then touch on the VIX at the end because some cool stuff is happening all over the board. SPY here, we had a pretty strong day. We didn't necessarily get that downward pressure that we might have, expected. We did get a little bit of a down move during the day, but we are seeing that buy back up, and we're stopping right at that 9-day moving average. Now, the only reason that I would be worried at this point and not be too bullish over the next few days is just because if we do start to see some real strength to get out of this, we are still below the 200, and we would be outside that weekly move, which we could want to get back into these purple lines, right? This is the weekly expected, moves from the options. This is our little range here, okay? We got these purple lines, and if we do get outside of those, we do like to come back into them by the end of the week. Now, there's just one main thing that I wanted to, talk about on the SPY here on an hourly chart, and that would be, one thing is we're starting to see some structure here. We could get some kind of left head and maybe a right shoulder in the future with some price action getting up to here and then carving out some kind of right shoulder. Yes, that is, on the cards, I think, or in the cards. I think that's possible for the bull side to things, but it is also possible that we do start to, close this gap down here. We do like to fill those gaps 80% of the time within 5 trading sessions. We could see some kind of move downward, maybe with earnings, maybe with that data that's coming out in the morning. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we do get some serious data. And then overall, I am still mainly paying attention to that Fed rate decision. And with the Fed rate decision, I just wanted to say that not all the time do we get the correct action on the day of the decision. Sometimes that information needs to be digested for 24 hours, so we could see something different happen. What I'm paying attention to here and what I wanted to point out on the hourly is if this does roll over, okay? If the MACD here does roll over, and this is something I go over in my course that I'm creating, that people really are starting to like, my friends that are taking it a little early, just to give me some feedback and things like that, is this MACD here. Okay, so if you look at the MACD, this is something very important we need to pay attention to. Yes, the MACD on the hourly is getting into that positive territory, right? The positive territory being above the center line. But you notice if we do start to roll over from this area, which we are starting to head towards that weekly expected move in the top of it, we could get rejection from that area, roll over, and that would immediately put us back down into negative territory. Now, the good part about this is when this stuff starts to happen, we can pay attention to if we do get some kind of higher low, right? We could get some kind of higher low in this area, or we could get some kind of divergence, right? If we come down into these levels, we would see that divergence form. But the good part is if this would roll over and give you that lower or higher low scenario, then we would be even closer to that center line, and that's mainly where you see the strong move happen, okay? So if we do get some kind of pullback as of tomorrow, right, then look for this MACD to start to curl up the other way, and that will be a good indication that the downside might be over because now the hourly is going to be in positive territory on the MACD. Now, the Qs aren't looking as strong, right? They're not looking as strong, but they are above the 200, okay? Now, one thing we pointed out in the last episode was the fact that if I was an investor, I actually might want a touch of this 200, right? We want some clarification that we want to hold up above that 200 because the last time that we did break that 200, right, we did see extreme selling. We saw a pretty decent, I guess, bear market, if you want to call it that. And I think as an investor, it would be very, very nice for this to come down and actually test right on that 200-day moving average. I think investors would be more confident buying at these type of levels on the Qs. Notice the same thing on the Qs that we were mentioning on the SPY is that on an hourly chart, we are right, just barely in positive territory. So if this runs to roll over, that would mean that the trend is still down. When we are in negative territory on the MACD on an hourly, then you can notice the trend is down. We go into negative territory way, way up here, right about here. Okay, we get to negative territory, you see the flush, and then we try to get back up. We try to get towards that center line, and then we roll over and we are still in negative territory, meaning that we are going to see the trend continue down, okay? So at this point, what I've been paying attention to is overall, we look like we're just kind of flagging upward. We're not seeing some, good buying, okay? What you want to see out of a reversal is something like this. Let's just draw down in here. What you'd want to see is more of a vertical move, consolidation, vertical move consolidation. That's more what you would want to see. And right now, you're not necessarily seeing that on an hourly. You're just seeing this kind of trickling upward, which actually is getting tighter and tighter, right? We can see that the price here is starting to get tight, which means a big move might be coming. We could see this play out to the upside. If it does play out to the upside in the bullish case, just be very careful because you do have that weekly expected move right in this area. So we're right towards that. And we're only getting to Wednesday morning at this point. So we could see us revert back down. If we do see some kind of move, we might come back into this range by the end of the week. To the bear side here, I think if this flag would play out, I don't think this full expected move could happen, but I would be paying attention to your weekly expected range to the downside. I feel like that is right in line with this possible, it's a possible continuation flag drawn on the daily that I have right here, and right in this area could be an area where buyers step back in. So I'm not expecting a big move like this to happen, just a pretty decent move down to this area. I don't know if those really add up, but let's go see. Let's see if this adds up. See, you can see it's not as big as this first leg, which is a good sign. That means momentum to the downside is dying out. Let's look into the future here. Let's just pay attention to what is happening on the charts in front of us. Pay attention to that Fed rate decision. That's going to be very important, but we do have data coming out at 10 a.m. Now, Apple, we have been talking about how important this purple zone is, especially in this wedge, right? We're very important in this purple zone. We've struggled to break below it before, and we're struggling to get in it. But you can notice today that we were able to buy back into it, and we were even able to violate this little mini trend that we got going here, right? We're able to get past that just a tiny, tiny bit, but we are still below the 200. We are at the bottom of this purple zone, and it still means that we could get a little bit of a rejection from this zone to head to lower levels before earnings. Right now, though, this is a green candle that is ending kind of towards the high of the day, so this could actually extend upwards, and you'll notice what I've drawn out here, kind of like on the hourly, like on the SPY, we could see some kind of head and shoulders form, right? But that is if this head is finished, right? So we might have a left here, and this could be the head. And if we do head up to higher levels, then we could see some kind of pullback into, you know, this purple zone, which is known to have some buyers in it. And maybe that's able to form and then give us some, you know, upside in the future. Something that I just would like to show you real quick, and I'm sure you guys know how to draw trend lines and everything, but originally I had my trend line like this. And what I'm overall going to get at is I just redraw my trend line when it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So the fact that we were able to violate this here and we made this little low, all I did was I said, okay, these look like they line up. Let's see if they do. And then boom. So now I have my new trend line. You see it touches 3 points, 1, 2, 3. I'm pretty confident in this trend line at this point. So if we do see buyers step back in, right, we get down to here and then we're able to see that explosive move and we get that hourly back into positive territory on Apple, then it could be a good sign that the downward pressure is over. The only problem with that is if we pull up the hourly here, if this does fully roll over, you would still be in negative territory. If this trend breaks, we will most likely go down to test this low. And the good part about that, so if this bearishness thing happens, right, if we start to break down to lower levels, or even maybe let's just say it's a double bottom at this point, you're going to see this roll over. And then if we are able to see those buyers step in, we'll have a nice little divergence. Okay, so be looking forward to that on the bear side to really flip your hat to maybe a bullish cap, right? Because we could see divergences forming here, and that will, you know, these 1 hour, 2 hour, 30-minute divergences, they start to pop up a lot near these bottoms. Tesla, we were talking about how it kind of sold off pretty rapidly and that we have this big range in here. Okay, we have a big range where a bunch of buyers are going to sit, but it is a big range. So we gave you this point here of 190.10. I think that's a very good level to pay attention to at this point, but we did see some buyers step in a little bit sooner. So that's good news that we're not heading to drastically lower levels, but it doesn't mean that we can't make another leg down or something like that over the next day or two. So what we want to do is we want to go into shorter time frames, let's say a 2 hour. And this is something that I really want to talk about is this 2 hour divergence that started to set up as of today. Okay, you can see that we actually got on the MACD just a little bit of red down here. This is enough to give you that divergence, and it's pretty significant. We see that proven down here on the on the RSI as well. So it's on the MACD, it's on the RSI. If we're able to, you know, break up to higher levels, I would mainly on this, I would mainly probably be looking for some kind of cupping to happen, right? Cup with a little handle, and then this could be your entry point in order to head higher. But we want to make sure to pay attention to Tesla, because if we do get some kind of retest, this big triangle on the daily that we've talked about for like months now. If we do get some kind of retest of that, we could see a bad reaction. So we just want to pay attention at that point. But I just wanted to bring it up. You do have 2-hour divergence on Tesla as of right now, and a 2-hour is known to roll over this daily MACD a lot of the time. One thing that I am expecting in Amazon is kind of some sellers to step in. I mean, we could see some kind of move upward, right? We could see an upward move, but this zone held with sellers pretty well, right? We weren't able to collect this little gap fill, gap resistance zone back very easily. So I'm expecting some sellers to be in this area. And the only thing that this could lead to is we could lead to, with this indecision candle here, we could get some kind of retest. Now, whether that is a short-lived retest, we just quickly go down to lower levels and retest this wedge before we start to head upward. I don't necessarily know whether we're going to just start to head higher at this level. It's kind of hard to say at this point, but it looks like in this area, I would like to see some more structure on shorter time frames. As you can see on the hourly here, we're kind of just getting this curvy upward move, and a lot of the time those curvy upward moves can be led to, it's kind of like when you're walking up the top of a mountain and then someone just decides to jump off the cliff, right? We could see a rapid move downward, but you notice we do have a bunch of moving averages on the hourly around this area. It could just be some kind of retest in order to go find some buyers, because this is a big move in a short amount of time, and we might need some buyers in order to go a little higher on Amazon. On NVIDIA, we did say it's possible to find those buyers in this area, and that's why we've been paying attention to this area and paying attention to this little red line across for quite some time. I probably should mark that off with a physical line. I'll do that for next episode, but you can see how much we want to hold up in this little bundle in here, because if we start to break below that level, it's going to start to look a little bad for NVIDIA. So I am expecting NVIDIA to hold up in these areas, and what that's doing for you on the daily, you're getting that divergence down in the MACD, you're getting that divergence down here on the RSI at the same time between these lows here. So it could mean good things, and if we do get some kind of pause, you're going to see a very positive reaction. And the reason that we were saying NVIDIA could start to go up from here is just because we do have, some sort of wedging in here. We have this little bit of wedging, right? We have a wedge. And then at the same time, we do have a 2-hour divergence, okay? So I really like 2-hour divergences. I talk about it in my course, and we'll talk about it a lot around those weekly ranges in that course. But right now, sometimes we do get that triple divergence. So you can't say the sellers are still around in NVIDIA. And we could make one more move down or test this previous low down in here. We could head all the way down into this red line before we actually see that play out. If this curls over and then we see that curl back up, you would just have a nice triple divergence. And with a triple divergence, they lead to a lot of reversals in trend. So we could see some good things happening in NVIDIA, whether or not that, small dip happens, or if we start to recover right now. One reason I'm saying don't get too bullish too quick is, if you notice today, we are seeing that green day in the market, but at the same time, we're actually seeing, if we get into TLT as negative, we're just seeing those rates start to creep up again. It's above that 9-day moving average. It could have one more push left in it, maybe even early tomorrow morning. And then what that would maybe do is set up that triple divergence. But if it does come out that we are seeing some kind of pause, this could just be some upward pressure and then wick down by the end of the day. So we'll have to pay attention. I believe that Fed rate decision is going to be very, very important. But, we could get stocks that are starting to announce buybacks and things like that too. So I want to pay attention to everything. But at the same time, right now you are seeing those yields actually get a little bit of a, not necessarily reversal candle, but you are getting some strength above that 9-day moving average, which could lead to one more push in yields. And we pay attention to on this channel the difference between bonds and the stock market. And you notice the stock market actually had that green candle up today, right? We're getting that green candle up. We're getting a lot of green candles up on a lot of stocks. But what did TLT do? TLT actually reacted down today. So TLT ended 0.5% down. It's closing below its 9-day moving average. Maybe it does want to go test this level of 8250 that we've been talking about for quite some time. That's my investment level. And then from there, we can see if we do get some kind of pause from the Fed. So right now, it just looks like, we got to be careful. This move does look like a trickling up move before a big event. And that can be very, very scary for traders like myself. So we want to pay attention to the actual thing that comes out, what the Fed rate decision is and what these yields do before that info comes out. It's very important to pay attention to. Just means we could see this difference in bonds in the actual market. Maybe we do get some kind of dip down tomorrow to catch up and make the correct move, which it looks like these bond traders are saying the correct move is to go a little bit down today while the market went up. So as you can see, the VIX is going to be very interesting because even though those bonds are moving down, we're actually seeing the VIX move down pretty quickly and give us the crossing on the MACD on the daily. So maybe that means that this divergence down here on the RSI is actually going to play out to the downside, but we are still above the 200. We are still above the 50. We still have this little trend going on. What if we do get one more push in the VIX before any of that Fed rate decision even comes out? Now, what we want to pay attention to the VIX is an actual closing bar back above 20. I believe an actual closing bar back above 20 could, not be the best news for the market, right? When we're back above 20, we do see volatility come back in very, very quickly. We can see those big moves on shorter time frames. So we just want to pay attention to if the VIX is actually closing above 20 tomorrow. So the main takeaway from this video is that we are seeing some update, but the bond market is telling us that we actually maybe needed to come down today. So we do have those yields that look like they could make one more push higher or test the previous highs. And we want to pay attention to that, especially before some kind of thing like a Fed rate decision. That's very important. That's really, really going to affect those yields. Okay, so if those yields are able to get some kind of pausing, then they are going to subside and we could see a big pop in the market. But it doesn't mean that volatility can't remain a little bit higher for the morning and things like that, and we can't see some kind of pullback or even a test of those lows before we get that info. Thank you guys so much for liking, subscribing, and always watching my videos. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you all the luck in the world trading tomorrow, okay? Peace.